very difficult for us to service that debt. Remember, we had a problem with external debt before, where we had about $35 billion that we owed, and it was becoming so difficult to service it. And our business people were not able to really get letters of credit honored or do any business abroad. Investment was not coming. And then we removed this. And things totally changed. People started coming to invest. They were interested. You know, telecom sector boomed. So many other sectors took off that were deregulated. Now, the same thing, if you pile up domestic debt and you can't pay, it will be even worse. Because who owes this debt? It's no longer people abroad to whom you can say, look, I don't want to service this and survive. If you owe it to your own economy, it means that if you bought a bond, a domestic bond floated by government, or a bank bought it and you don't pay them when it's due, they too will not be able to function, and the economy will gradually grind to a halt. So that's what we're saying, that domestic debt, people don't realize how dangerous it is to accumulate domestic debt. We have to slow it down. I'm not saying that there won't be any borrowing at all, but it has to be cut back. And that's what we've done in the 2012 budget. Instead of borrowing 1.1 trillion, you know, we will now borrow much less, about 794 billion, and we'll be cutting back every year.
Now back to the strike. In the news report, we learned that you said that government was still in discussions with the labor unions up till March, April. So why did the government just suddenly announce the removal of fuel subsidies without following through with discussions with labor unions?
Well, this is a very big puzzle to me, because I think the town hall where I spoke is on tape. I never mentioned an April date. You know, I did say we were in discussion. I never mentioned any April date, and it's very puzzling to me that people can invent this as a lie, you know, and spread it around. And there's a lot of disinformation going on of what people said. You say one thing, and someone twists it and sends it around, and it becomes truth. It is not true. And I would really like to appeal. I know that this is a tense moment. People are upset. One understands that, you know, and one respects it. But we cannot even have a decent conversation as a country when it is based on lies and deceit. You know, the holy book, the Quran, says that we should run away from falsehood because it leads to immorality, and we should be honest because honesty leads to goodness. The Bible in Ephesians 4:25 also says that we should shun falsehood and we should speak truth to our neighbors. Why is it that in a country which all of us respect and are religious and pray to God all the time, people would take things and twist them into falsehood to make the conversation even more difficult?
So we're saying that the government had exhausted all means of discussions with labor unions and civil society?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. You know, I don't think government should ever exhaust means of discussion. My belief is that government should continue to discuss and talk to people and explain its actions and explain to them. And I think we should now focus on just explaining about the benefits, which are substantial. You know, when we create 370,000 jobs a year, it means that so many young people who are sitting can work. And we're about to launch that, you know.
Now, the Senate last year began a process of investigating the management of the fuel subsidy scheme. And then we were part of we invited it to the House, the National Assembly, and we found a lot of irregularities in the scheme. One would have thought that the federal government would have waited to see the final outcome of the investigations and learn lessons going forward first, before announcing the removal of fuel subsidy.
I think the conversation on that, I said, is ongoing. Things don't have to be sometimes sequential. I think you should manage things for the country to keep going. You know, we should not let mistakes of the past define the future. Because if we do, we don't move forward anywhere. And we've got to try and move this country forward into a better future for the country. So I think you should be doing things simultaneously. Because you're working on one thing doesn't mean you have to stop and working on another. And I think that's the way we should go about it. And then let the lessons feed into the way you define the path going forward.
Because then, you know, some feel that we should know what really happened to the 1.3 trillion naira for subsidies, learn what happened, who were the major actors who led to, the issues we had in the subsidy scheme before now announcing the removal of fuel subsidy?
I think the fact that I can tell you is that you can see the impact on the revenues of paying out that sum of money. The money is being paid out. So that's a fact. Last year, for 2011, what we found in the budget when I came is that they are budgeted for 2 months of fuel subsidy because they thought that the thing was going to be phased out in the 2011 year. It didn't happen, and the monies continue to be paid out of this account of the total federation. And I think this is why the governors also said that they want it stopped. You remember that 1 or 2 FAC meetings, governors, the commissioners refused to collect any money because they said as long as that subsidy is being paid out, they are not getting the totality of their money, they won't collect. It was becoming a problem. I don't know if you remember. 2 months in a row, FAC meeting did not hold. They refused to even come to the meeting. They refused to hold it because they said if you pay out money for fuel subsidy, they won't collect. So this was already a problem. So that's the fact that 1.4 trillion this last year, 2011, was paid out. Now the issue, yes,
initially,
yeah, exactly. So when people say, that there's no subsidy or no money was paid, it is not true. As the finance minister, I can tell you that this money was paid out. And when you look at the totality of its impact and all the things facing us, the fact that people said, okay, buses with no roads, that's why you need to repair these roads. And the way that we are going with the resources we have at the federal level to do these roads, it will take us 10 years, 11 years, and then people will be driving into potholes and they'll be very dissatisfied. So what we are trying to do is put the money that is available now, plus in the budget, plus the one that will come, should be put massively on these roads. Now, what is the key? I think that this level of distrust, we must acknowledge it.
Yeah.
We have to acknowledge that Nigerians do not trust their government.
Mm-hmm.
And this is nothing new. For a long time, people have not trusted government. And you cannot, yes, I agree. I'm a Nigerian too. Because over the years, government has not delivered. We have to acknowledge that. And then you have to ask yourself, what will you do differently to show people? You can't just go into a situation where there's more and more and more distrust. And then that prevents the government from doing anything when there's the will to do it. And therefore, that is why you must do the show transfer. That's why you must fight corruption. I agree with every Nigerian, I'm a Nigerian too, about that issue, that we have to move on that. One biggest way, as the president said in his speech, of fighting corruption is to get rid of this, because anything that leads to corruption, that allows people to corner the market, is not a good thing. Like in telecommunications, when you open it up, then many more entrants come in and the sector is open and you get services delivered.
But the removal of subsidy, can't it be done in phases instead of just one swoop? Can it be done in phases?
Well, you can look at the examples of where it has been done and it has never worked. It hasn't succeeded in many cases. And it causes so much anguish. I think that anything you do to touch subsidy in Nigeria is going to cause people anguish, and they're going to be angry. Whether you do it in phase 1, phase 2, or you do it in, it's a problem. And I totally understand how people feel about it. And I think there are certain things we must do. The issue of fighting corruption is a true one, and we have to be specific. The issue of making government more efficient and cutting costs is absolutely important. If you listen to the president's speech, President Goodluck Jonathan made clear that we are going to move on these issues, and he's saying it with all sincerity, and we are going to do it. The second thing is the money is used. People are saying, I hear people saying a lot of things that are disinformation, that this money has already been stolen anyway. We have to be careful what we say. The money is going to come in month by month. The revenues of this country don't come in bulk. They come in every month. It is when we sell oil and get the royalties, then the money comes into the budget. and into the revenue stream. So how can we have stolen it? We're just in January. I've not met to see how much has come in. What we will do is when that money comes in for the January account, we will publish the amount that is the saving on subsidy for January, so that every Nigerian can see that this is how much came in that we would have paid out in subsidy, but here it is. Then we will say where this money is going. This money is going to go into mass transit program or unemployment or employment of youth program. Then we will say where that program is being done, so that people can verify for themselves. And then you also have the oversight committee. This program was implemented well and with transparency, so that Nigerians can monitor. If they then see that this is not happening, they can protest, they can call in, they can say you're liars. But we have to do it in a way that Nigerians will find believable.
You're talking about oversight committee, and we know that the National Assembly involves itself in oversight functions. Now, this decision that the federal government took without recourse to the National Assembly.
No, this does not stop the National Assembly from doing its job. It has its oversight job.
But the National shouldn't they have agreed, No,
don't mix up what the executive can do and what the National Assembly can. The National Assembly will approve the budget and also approve the monies to be spent. That is, will have to happen with the National Assembly. But this is a committee that is supposed to help make sure this program is implemented well. It doesn't take away from the oversight functions of the National Assembly at all. Instead, what we are trying to show Nigerians is that, look, you don't have to just take the word of government because of this issue of trust. You don't have to just take the word. Let us get credible people who can stand up and tell you that this is happening, whom you will find more believable because they are outside of government and independent. Let them say whether the thing is really happening. In addition to you as a Nigerian being able to monitor this, after all, there's a lot of social media going on now. If you say that there's going to be 70,000 jobs created, you have to say where. Jobs are not created in empty air. So for that, we are working with the states. And then we will tell you the states, you can go and verify whether people are actually working at it. The states themselves are going to get part of this money.
Are we going to see a situation where the government would, agree to the terms of labor if the strike continues?
Look, I'm not running, I'm not the president, I'm not the vice president, I'm a minister in the government. And I cannot answer that question and start debating that. I think you should leave it. I mean, and at the appropriate time, you ask the appropriate authorities. I have not been empowered to negotiate with labor or to discuss that. Yeah.
Thank you very, very much.
Okay. I just wanted to finish my sentence on the states, that the states are also going to get part of this money, and the local governments, and we are hoping that they will also create programs that will be parallel to that of government or in conjunction with that of government, because this will multiply the impact of what we are trying to do. But the federal government program is very clear, has been developed, is available, and will be published transparently.
Thank you very, very much.
Thank you.
For coming on the program.
Thank you.